Hi, everybody. Good morning if you're on the West Coast, good afternoon or good evening if you are elsewhere, East Coast to Europe or Asia. My name is Noam Shendar. I am the General Manager of the Cloud Business at Zadara Storage. I am joined here by Ben Chong, who is the Storage Product Manager for the Google Cloud Platform. Here are our smiling faces. We have an exciting presentation today for you about file storage at the Google Cloud Platform. And to kick things off, I'm going to pass it off to Ben. I want to mention that from a logistical perspective, this platform, BrightTalk, has a Q&A platform that is like a chat platform. It's on the right side of your screen. Please feel free to type in questions at any point. If the questions fit into the flow, we'll actually pause and answer the questions while we're going through the content, and anything that we don't get to, we'll answer at the end of the presentation. With that, I'm going to hand this off to Ben Chong, again, the Storage Product Manager for the Google Cloud Platform. Hi, Ben.
Thanks, Noam. So again, I'm Ben Chong. I'm at Google, responsible for cloud storage. Here's a quick intro to what cloud storage is. Now, cloud storage is basically our managed object storage service on Google Cloud, and is essentially meant for storing objects in the cloud. And with objects in the cloud, you could either serve them through your end users or run data analytics, machine learning, archival, or compute workloads on them. We have 4 flavors of cloud storage: multi-regional, regional, nearline, and co-line. Multi-regional storage is best for serving content, right? For example, the US continent could be a multi-regional audience, and you could serve content to your end users in the continental US. On the other side, we have co-line, which is really great for archival storage, where you expect to put in data and not access it for a long time. Now, the one good thing about Google Cloud Storage compared to some of the other cloud vendors is our very consistent API. So you would have the same API that you use to access or upload objects, whether they are in multi-regional, regional, nearline, or co-line storage. And the performance across all these storage tiers is the same. So we have had customers who actually store content in co-line, for example, and for whatever reason, they can also serve the content directly from co-line, and there's no performance impact. And if you look at the availability, availability is 99.95 for multi-regional, and our actual availability is even higher. So going on to the next slide. So cloud storage is very commonly used for content storage and delivery, as I mentioned. It is also very commonly used for big data analytics and general compute. Right, so here in this slide, you can see some of the top customers using cloud storage for these 2 use cases. So you have big names like Vimeo, Spotify, and then on the other hand, you have Motorola in manufacturing, Broad Institute in genomics, and so on. Now, going into a bit more detail, so here is an example of how cloud storage is used for content delivery and storage. So you would load your data into cloud storage, your media files, for example. You would run compute engine to render the media files. For very hot data, you would store it in multi-regional, and that's generally data that you are serving to your customers. For content that is not so commonly used, you could store them in nearline or co-lines to reduce your storage costs. And we have lifecycle policies that are available that can use to automate some of this process. Now, once the media files in cloud storage that properly rendered for the right engines and so on, then you would work with either our cloud CDN product and service, or with one of our CDN partners like Fastly and others. And finally, here's an example of how cloud storage is used for big data analytics. Again, you load your data into cloud storage. You would use something like Cloud Data Flow for ETL workloads, and then you could then pump it into big data or BigQuery to provide intelligence and information to your business users, your data scientists, and so on. Now, having seen like how a lot of our customers use cloud storage, then your next question might be, how do you bring over your data? We know that a lot of data today is still generated outside of cloud, right? Through IoT or other platforms generated on premise. And then how do you run your file system-based applications on cloud? And again, a lot of today's applications are still dependent on file system and not necessarily object storage. And for that, I'll hand you off back to Noam, who will cover how Zadara can help you in these use cases.
Excellent. Thank you, Ben. So as you saw and heard from Ben, there is a rich set of storage capabilities on the Google Cloud Platform, which covers many different use cases and is really sophisticated. One thing you may not have seen, and which you may be asking yourself about, especially if you have an existing workload on premises, is about file storage using standard protocols like NFS and CIFS, where NFS is common in the Linux world and CIFS, or sometimes called SMB, is common in the Windows world. And this is what I'd like to tell you about in the time that we have left here. How do we do file storage on the Google Cloud Platform? So, a little bit about, to set context about us, Zadara Storage. We provide fully capable, full-featured, sophisticated file storage for Google Cloud Platform customers. This is good for things like advanced file services around the CIFS and NFS protocols. If you're looking for dedicated resources on demand, be they SSDs or hard drives, it's another thing that we do. You want to do backup automatically to Google's own object storage, another common use case among our customers. If you're setting up an edge cloud where you have something closer to where your data is generated, and then you want to feed the data into Google Cloud Platform, that's a common use case. Hybrid clouds, where you have on-prem and Google Cloud Platform at the same time. And then last but not least, moving a lot of data into a Google Cloud Platform. We're a company that's been around for almost 7 years now, and we serve companies of all sizes, up to and including Fortune 100 firms. And the solution is very flexible, so it is equally capable, but very scalable from small to very large, meaning it's really appropriate for almost any size company. Some questions came in the meantime. I'm going to cherry pick a few of them just for clarity, and then I'll make sure everything is answered by the end of the presentation. Is this sitting on top of GCP? I'll cover this more in a little bit, but it is sitting next to GCP, and there are good reasons for doing that I'll cover. There is online documentation, and you can find that at the zadarastorage.com website. And I think, and then there's a question about our SLA. There's a very strong SLA, actually covering all downtimes, 100% uptime SLA. I'll get to that as well, and a demonstrated better than 5 nines availability. Alrighty, so let's talk a little more about the details. This has been rather conceptual until now. I'm waiting for the slide to advance. There we go. Too far, sorry. So the concept behind Zadara Storage is what we call enterprise storage as a service. What we try to convey with this category, and it's really a new product category that we pioneered back in 2011, is why can't we have storage that has all the capabilities of traditional enterprise storage, like the type that companies like EMC and NetApp and IBM and HP provide, but purely as a service with all the convenience, elasticity, the pay only for what you use concept for storage that has no compromises. Provides everything you want, but provides it the way that you want to have it. And that is what we do and have always done from the very beginning. So it's fully featured storage, does anything that a traditional on-premises system does, but you don't have to buy it. You only pay for what you use. You can grow it, you can shrink it, you can add features, you can subtract features. That is enterprise storage as a service, and that is what we do for GCP, Google Cloud Platform customers. When I say fully featured, here's a laundry list of things that we do. I'll give you just some examples. Both NFS and CIFS protocols, and if you're a Windows environment customer, then Active Directory is supported natively. There are quotas. For security, there are ACLs, ACLs, access control lists. You can create very large file volumes. You can encrypt your data, both at rest and in flight. And very importantly, the key is yours and yours alone. You set the password or passphrase that encrypts your data. We at Zadara don't have it. The Google team does not have it. You control what happens to your data. Your responsibility, of course, is to not lose the key. So good news is it's extremely secure, and the let's call it bad news, but it's really the other side of the same coin. You cannot lose the key. If you do lose the key, then your data is gone. So there is no recovery possible if you don't have the key. So good news, secure. Bad news, adds responsibility for you to keep track of the keys. Remote replication, region to region, very important for disaster recovery. We have locations across 5 continents that you can replicate to or from, including point to multi-point replication. Again, very, very sophisticated system. Snapshots that are instant, and they're instant to restore as well, as frequently as once per minute, so that you, if your software causes a data corruption, it can always go back to a known good version and instantly and keep running immediately. Thin provisioning, very large SSD caching if you want magnetic storage, but you want to accelerate it. Caches as large as 3.2 terabytes, and everything is API driven using a RESTful API to make this easy to control. And of course, there's a fully featured GUI as well. Alrighty, I'm just scanning the questions. Is Zadara's file services option a first-party offering in GCP? If you mean, is it offered by GCP themselves? No, it is offered by us at Zadara Storage. It shows up as local storage in your GCP private network. It's only visible through your GCP private network, and the latency is local latency, 1 or 2 milliseconds between your VM and the storage. So it is, it behaves, it feels, it looks, it smells like local storage, but it is offered by us at Zadara Storage, and we're happy to tell you more about that. Another question. Does the controller performance functionality enable QoS for particular volumes? That's a great setup question. Whoever asked it, thank you for that. The resources are dedicated on a per customer basis. That's another reason why we are the most secure offering out there. So drives are not shared among customers, be they magnetic or solid state drives. The storage stack ones on dedicated virtual machines that are not shared among customers, and those virtual machines have pinned CPU cores and memory that also are not shared and not oversubscribed, which means that your QoS is not only guaranteed, it's also it's rock solid, because there's nothing another tenant can do to affect you, and there's nothing you can do to affect another tenant. Let's move along. One of the advantages of the system that is absolutely unique has to do with this setup where we place our storage next to GCP in very close proximity. Because this is a physical system that is multi-tenant and on demand, we can actually place it on your premises at will. So if you have needs both at GCP and on premises, maybe you want to, maybe there's some data you're not allowed to move out of premises. Maybe you want to maintain 2 copies for disaster recovery reasons. we can do that for you. So we would ship you the same system that we have at GCP. That system costs the same for you, so it's by the hour. It's elastic up and down. You only pay for what you use. It has the same features. It has the same performance, same API, same everything else. And the result is that you have an identical platform, both on-prem and at GCP, which enables you to balance your data the way you want to between your on-prem environment and the cloud, and allows you to change that balance at any point in the future, for example, when you're ready to go all in on GCP. And this on-prem model is quite different from what is typical in the industry. So we, as an enterprise storage as a service company, as I mentioned, we do not sell storage. So there's no box that you can buy from us. Rather, there's an appliance that we will give to you that is a full-fledged storage array with all the bells and whistles that I described, and we charge you for the actual usage of that on an hour-by-hour basis. And for as long as you use it, you can keep it, and if you want to terminate, then we will take it away, wipe it clean, and redeploy it elsewhere. Another thing that we do, and I alluded to it earlier, is moving a lot of data into GCP. And there are all the traditional ways that you can imagine we can help you by doing an public network copy. We can help you with a physical appliance that we would send to you, and you would copy your data to it. It would ship it into the GCP location. But I want to talk about something really neat, and that is live cloud hydration for very large amounts of data. What we do here is that same appliance that I just described that we would send to you, we can actually send you 2 of them. And if we send you 2 of them, then we can have on your premises 3 copies of your data. Your main copy, whatever you're using today on-prem, plus 2 systems of ours that are replicating among each other. Once there are 3 copies of the data, we can then break the mirror and then take one of the systems that we ship to you and ship it overnight or 2-day air to the GCP location. As soon as the system arrives at the GCP location, we reestablish the mirror, and then only the changes that happened while the system was in flight need to be copied over to GCP. And once that sync is done, then you have a perfect copy at GCP. That means that we can move petabytes of data without asking you to pause your application while the data is in movement. You can keep running your application on-prem, and then once you have a good copy at GCP, then you can cut over to GCP at your convenience. This takes a lot of pressure off of you as far as timing, as far as coordination, and so on and so forth. You can cut over when you're ready, and not 1 second before that. Let me answer a couple of other questions while I'm at it. Is there a limit to the number of snapshots and the volume? There is not an architectural limit, but we recommend to keep it to thousands of snapshots, and mostly for space reasons. But again, the system will not limit you, but you will you probably want to keep some efficiency there, because you do pay for the capacity that you use, including the snapshot capacity. So it would make sense to cap that. And there's an automatic deletion of snapshots. You can decide how many snapshots to keep on a per policy basis. For example, minute by minute, keep 60 of them for an hour by hour, keep 24 of them for a day, et cetera, et cetera. There's a question about the support model, 24/7 live support by our actual engineers, not a call center, but our full-time employees in our 2 main facilities. Does not cost extra, which was part 2 of that question. They included in that hourly price that I mentioned. So it's upfront pricing, all inclusive. Keep it simple, no hidden costs. Makes it easier for everybody. Keep moving forward. Setting this up is really, really easy. This is the actual provisioning portal, and I'll have a link to this portal at the end of the presentation. but of course you can get it from our homepage at zadarastorage.com. The steps are essentially 3 steps. Select Google Cloud Platform. Then you want to select the storage configuration that you think you want. I say that you think you want because it's always changeable up or down, so you're never stuck with the choices that you make. So we provide a free onboarding session. If you're interested, if you want to sort of play with it yourself and break it yourself, you're very welcome to do that as well. So either based on our advice or based on your choices, you choose what we call an engine. An engine is like a storage controller. That's the dedicated virtual machine that I mentioned. There are 7 sizes to these engines. And again, you can non-disruptively upgrade or downgrade among those to find the one that fits your needs in terms of performance and capacity. And then here down below where it says select your dedicated drives, you choose your mix of actual physical drives that you get in real time. You can choose any mix of SSDs. We use 1.6 terabyte Intel SSDs or 10 terabyte HGST helium-filled magnetic SATA drives. And that mix can change over time. You can add drives and expand your capacity non-disruptively. You can also go down. You can actually decrease your capacity and give back drives that you're no longer using. The beauty of this, that your price adjusts automatically on an hour-by-hour basis to reflect your growing or shrinking usage. The other thing to note here is that the engine itself can be hibernated. What I mean by that is that let's say that you want to keep the data in place, but you don't have a need to access it for the next day or month or whatever it is, then you can do what's called a hibernate. That shuts the engine down and you stop paying for it. The price goes down to 0, and you're only paying for the drives that you're reserving for yourself. It's another way to make your subsystem more efficient and only pay for what you're actually using. Once you hit submit at the bottom of this provisioning screen, then your what we call VPSA is created. The way that it's created, and this goes into the appliance that we have placed in advance next to GCP sites. They're made of standard off-the-shelf hardware in our software-defined storage that we developed. We call each, so what it looks like is servers with a lot of drives that are directly attached inside those servers, and an interconnect that's a standard Ethernet, high-speed Ethernet connection, typically 40 gigs, connecting these, what we call storage nodes, to each other. So a storage node is a server. It has a lot of memory, it has a lot of CPUs, and it has a lot of drives directly attached to it. And those are the Intel and HGST drives that I mentioned. And our software-defined storage that binds it all together into a VPSA, actually a lot of VPSAs that are dedicated on a customer-by-customer basis and are defined in real time by the customers. When you create your VPSA, we reserve in real time the resources for you. So for example, customer A here asked for a VPSA that is what we call the 200 series. That's the smallest controller, which takes up two total CPU cores, one on one node and one always on a different node for anti-affinity. And the customer also asked for 4 drives. So if you look at the green resources that have now been taken up in this system, we call the Zadara Storage Cloud, you can see that 1 core has been taken up in the first node, and the second core has been taken up in the third node. This is the green squares at the very top. And then you can see that 4 drives, as requested by the customer, have been reserved also for this customer. So now what this looks like is a mini storage array. It's a dual controller array with 4 physical drives attached to it, and all of these resources belong exclusively to this one customer, customer A, who requested this. Then comes along customer B, and customer B wants the 400 series engine, that's a double-size engine, and asks for 10 drives. So now we reserve 2 cores on one of the nodes, in this case the first node, you see 2 blue cores marked, and then the 4th node has 2 additional cores reserved for that customer. and then two rows of 5 drives each for a total of 10 reserved for the same customer B. And if you look at this picture, there are a few things that I hope jump out for you. Number one, customers A and B exist in parallel universes. They cannot touch each other. They cannot affect each other. They have dedicated resources that are completely separate, that are physical, and also whose failure domains are separate, because customer A lives in customer A's pair of virtual machines, and customer B lives in her dedicated pair of virtual machines. So anything that happens to A or B does not affect the other one. The second thing that I hope jumps out at you is the redundancy and resilience in the system. Let's say that we blow away this first column, this first storage node, and leave the other 4 in place. Both customers A and B are still able to fully access their data with no interruption, because they are redundant engines on the 3rd and 4th nodes, respectively. The green square without a dot and the 2 blue squares, light blue squares without a dot. And also, because of RAID-based data protection across the nodes, the data is still available. So if you blow away all the drives in the left column, there's still enough data remaining in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th columns to provide all the data back to the customer, and of course the ability to rebuild. As soon as an engine disappears for any reason, hardware or software related, a new one is spawned on another storage node, and also the spare drives, the ones that have a white background, are used to rebuild the RAID groups. So what you are looking at is a system that is multi-tenant, yet the tenants don't ever have a noisy neighbor problem, and who are completely isolated from each other, and with extreme resilience and self-healing to ensure that this thing keeps ticking no matter what happens. And we've demonstrated better than 5 nines availability, and have been operating this for more than 6 years with the same reliability that I'm mentioning here. There's a question. The question is, can we enable tiering through this deployment or provisioning tool? And the answer, there are 2 ways to do it. One is, I mentioned that there's an SSD cache. So you choose the size of your SSD cache, and you can grow or shrink it non-disruptively like everything else in the system. It's elastic and easy. So if you have all hard drives, then by creating an SSD cache, you have a faster tier, let's call it, where your hottest data resides, and the hottest data keeps moving into the SSD cache, and your colder data is moved out. You're also able to manually tier between hard drives and SSDs if you so wish, using what we call our live migration tool. That lets you move volumes between SSD and hard drive without affecting the application. So the data is copied in the background, and then as soon as the data is fully copied, then there's a transparent switchover from the old pool to the new pool, be it SSD to hard drive or vice versa, and therefore now the application sits on a different tier. Next question. So does each server run multiple, quote, storage controllers in virtual machines running the SDS, the software-defined storage? The answer is yes. So as you can see in the current slide, here I'm showing about 16 cores that are available to be dedicated to each customer. And as I mentioned, the smallest controller, again, we call it an engine, but it is a storage controller, will use up at least 1 core. It can actually use up to all of the cores that you see here. So it's anywhere between 16 different controllers running in a node, or as few as 1 if it's a really big one. The average is about 10. So if you look at all of our systems worldwide, we're talking about 100 petabytes around the globe. The average is about 10 per node, which should make sense. Most people will stick to as small a controller as possible, because why get something that is too big if it's not necessary? Let's see. Let's keep moving forward. Oh, sorry. One more point I wanted to make. This Zadara Storage Cloud that in this picture has 5 nodes can be expanded in any increment and can grow to hundreds of nodes. So it can be grown by, 1 node at a time, 2, 10, 100. That doesn't matter. Non-disruptively, and the workload is of course added in a load balancing fashion. In other words, when a customer expands their VPSA or creates a new VPSA, it's those resources are taken from the least busy nodes in order to keep the system as evenly balanced as possible. I mentioned that we have locations around the world. So this is a map showing at least our public locations. We have, as I mentioned, we also do on-premises services. That's about half of our business, nearly half of our business. But you can see our public locations here, covering 5 continents around the globe and closely associated with major metropolitan areas and major cloud locations. So a few more things to know about us to round out the overview of what we do and why it's relevant. So we provide cloud storage services, both at GCP and on premises, and also both at the same time with replication back and forth. Uniquely, we provide dedicated resource on demand. The resources are never shared. There's no option to get 10 gigs. It's not, it's just not an option. It's full drives. As I mentioned, the smallest drive is 1.6 terabytes. So we serve sort of the mid-market and above in terms of capacities. Because of the dedication of resources and because of our network architecture, you get full private network privacy. So that means inside GCP, you are within your GCP private network, and within our end of the wire, you're in your own VLAN. Every customer gets their own VLAN, or can be multiple VLANs, and we can also expose our storage to multiple networks on your side simultaneously. The point is that your data is only visible from inside your GPC private network and not accessible outside. That means that your security model is actually GCP's security model. We don't provide access outside of that security model. So we sit inside that fence, so to speak, so that we maintain the same paradigm as Google Cloud Platform. We serve all major regions for GCP, and also will ship storage to any location that we're legally allowed to ship to around the globe. So as long as the U.S. Department of Commerce doesn't say a country's off limits, we service that market. Our key partners, as I mentioned several times, Google Cloud Platform as a major cloud provider partner, Intel, with whom we work both on SSDs and on servers, and HGST, which is a division of Western Digital, with whom we work on magnetic hard drives, high capacity, very affordable hard drives. Let me answer a question about cost, and then I'll go into some promotions that are going now in order that hopefully will enable you to give this a try. And the idea is to let you try this with no risk and no cost. So speaking of cost, the cost is very straightforward. On the slide that I showed you, there's a price per hour for each engine. The cheapest engine starts at 49 cents per hour. The drives, both types of drives, the 1.6 terabyte drive and the 10 terabyte hard drive, are each 30 cents per hour. So you can get 1.6 terabytes of SSD or 10 terabytes of magnetic storage for 30 cents an hour. Those prices are spot or on-demand prices, so there's no commitment. You can come and go as you please. If you're willing to sign up for a period of time, when we've defined 3 periods, 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, then there are deep discounts that apply, ranging from 20% off to 50% off of those prices, which means that in real terms and dollars per gigabyte per month, you can have magnetic storage with all of the features that I mentioned and the the 24/7 live support, et cetera, et cetera. It's all-inclusive at a range from between 3 cents per gigabyte per month to 6 cents per gigabyte per month. I hope you agree that that is very attractive pricing, affordable, in line with market prices, but yet way, way above the market in terms of the capabilities. So that's the cost before we put some promotions in. So let's look at promotions. And the obligatory logo slide, just to give you, this is a small subset of our customers, just giving you a sense to verticals, education, media and entertainment, SaaS, and also the sizes. You know, some very big names, but also some companies you may not have heard of. Our smallest customer is a 3-person company. Their monthly bill is around $500 a month, and then we have customers paying into the 5 and even 6 figures per month, just depending on their actual usage. All of them tell us that we save them money on a daily basis, which is one of the reasons that we exist. So again, speaking of money, we will provide you, if you do a trial, both a free trial, and then we'll throw in an additional $500 beyond the free trial in order to help you, if you wish, prolong your trial, or you can use it against production use. The point is, we want to encourage you to try this and show you with real money that we want you to join our platform. And in addition to that, Google is throwing in money as well. So new customers of GCP automatically receive a $300 free trial credit, and then we, as Google partners, have access to an additional $200 of credit that we will provide you. So that means that for the Google side, you have $500 of credit available to you against usage of the Google Cloud Platform. On the Zadara side, you have both the free trial and $500 on top of that of credit, for a total of $1,000 in credits to let you test this with no risk and also no cost. And to start, there are two logos here. So to register for a free trial, this is where you create an account on our system and immediately have access to the provisioning portal that I showed you, is this bit.ly link. So bit.ly/Zadara register, capital Z, capital R. So again, bit.ly/Zadara register. And then there's a slightly more complicated link here that it is a partner link with Google. And I won't read it, but you can copy it here. It's the link below the $300 free trial credit. So to recap, this is full-fledged NAS, so it's not just file storage. It's really a NAS because it behaves like a storage array. It's available right now at Google Cloud Platform. It complements the already extensive storage capabilities that Google Cloud Platform has, and adds specifically the file capabilities, NFS and SIFs. All features are included: snapshots, remote replication, thin provisioning, encryption of data at rest and data in flight, et cetera, et cetera. If you have operations both on-prem and in the cloud, or you're all on-prem and you want to move into the cloud, you are also in the right place, because we're able to deliver physical systems to you using exactly the same business model, paid by the hour, only for what you use, and you can use that system on-prem and to replicate your data to GCP. And again, the replication capability is built in. All you need to pay for is your usage on-prem and the usage at GCP. We invite you to register. As I mentioned, and this answers a question, we do help you get started. We have free onboarding sessions with our own engineers who will ask you what you're trying to get accomplished, and they will advise you on how to proceed. Or you can review our documentation online at zadarastorage.com and proceed on your own. We are always available to help, and this is not just trying to get you in. Every day after that too. We're a service. We earn your business every day. We make sure that you're happy every day. So you will always see enthusiastic service from us. So with that, I invite you to ask more questions through the questions interface on the right. While you're hopefully typing more questions, I'll answer one more question that I see here. And the question is, how does this differ from some services at AWS? This service is unique across all clouds. So there is no other service that offers dedicated resources on demand. There is no other service that provides the identical storage device and service both on-prem and in the cloud. It also has the most complete feature set for any enterprise-grade storage, so NAS and SAN storage available in the public cloud. We pride ourselves on being the most sophisticated, most capable, also most secure storage out there. And if you are an existing cloud user of another cloud, which all of us here in the Google environment hope you're not, and invite you over to GCP. We do have the ability to help you migrate into GCP from other clouds, thanks to our multi-cloud capability. I see another question, so thank you for that. What's the high-level differentiator between Zadara's NAS and the native EFS that AWS offers? Thank you for that question too. EFS is is a volume as a service offering. It's NFS only, does not support CIFS. So it has a single protocol rather than both file protocols. Also, it doesn't have the full set of features that I mentioned. It doesn't have, for example, the remote replication capabilities that I mentioned. It doesn't have the enterprise-grade snapshots that I mentioned, where you can create snapshots instantly on a minute-by-minute basis with no performance impact, and they also recover from those instantly. There's no copy back of the data. We have demonstrated performance advantages as well. And if we're talking about magnetic storage, there are also significant cost advantages versus EFS. So I'm not putting down EFS at all. It's a very impressive service, but we have capability advantages. We have multi-cloud advantages. We have also depending on your choice of device, we can also have cost advantages versus EFS as well. And importantly, here at GCP, there are the capabilities. There isn't an EFS equivalent. So we are here to meet all of your file needs at GCP to make sure that should you wish to move applications that depend on NFS or CIFS today on-prem, that you can do exactly the same at GCP without having to reconfigure your application. If it runs on-prem on a NetApp or an Isilon, an EMC, you name it, it'll run the same way without having to be reconfigured at GCP using Zadara VPSA. All right, so we're coming up on the end of the 45-minute period. I don't see any more questions. I will again remind you of the link down here, bit.ly/Zadara register. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your questions, excellent questions. Some more contact information here. Ben, do you have any parting thoughts for our audience?
Hi, Ben. Thanks, everyone, for joining us this morning.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the day or afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. And please reach out to any of us should you have any questions. We would love to show you what we're capable of. Goodbye.